Welcome in to the Ostrom Avenue podcast. AJ Myers, joined alongside Griffin Bloomstein. No more Jordan. Reality is finally setting in that Jordan is no longer a part of the Ostrom Avenue podcast. He's an alum for the pod, joins many of the prestigious alum. But even with no Jordan, we still have a really good slate today. No interview, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't listen to our past interviews. We had Lars Tiffany. Griffin spoke to him, UVA's head coach last week. Fantastic conversation with him. And then 2 weeks ago, we had Matt Carwick, Colgate's head coach, and he had another really good conversation as well. Even though the games has passed, there's still great interviews to listen to. Every lacrosse head coach we interview is always a fun time and always provides really good insight. No interview this week. Syracuse men's lacrosse, they take on Notre Dame. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. Huge game for Gary Gates' group. Lax team, they're out in California taking on Cal, and then plenty of talking points for the spring game. But before we get to basketball and all the transfer news that happened this weekend, Griffin, what are we going to talk about at the top of the podcast? Do we
I
continue
know.
the weather or do we have to create our own thing?
I was a little worried. I was like, we don't get to talk about the weather anymore. But
I mean,
like,
we
do we
could,
do we want to talk about the weather? That's the
but I feel like
thing.
we
I,
should
I
come
don't
up with
know.
something of our own, right?
Hmm. Yeah, I guess
Maybe
we'll
we
we'll
should,
we'll come with you that maybe in the fall. We'll
yeah. Oh, the fall. Wow. You
well,
gotta wait.
unless we think of something sooner. I
I
mean,
think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a poll on Ostrom Avenue Podcasts on
ooh,
X, and maybe I'll throw a few things out there. I did get a suggestion from my girlfriend that we talk about one good thing that we like read this week or something.
hmm,
Um,
interesting.
so that's an
I,
idea, but maybe our ex friends will help us, our Twitter
are,
friends.
are
I'm
we
still gonna
calling it X? Or are we calling what are
it's Twitter in my heart,
I,
but if we
I
want
I
to
agree. I don't even call it X.
yeah,
I guess
because
you could call
when
me.
I say X, it sounds like I'm talking about not Twitter. Like it's like, oh, I'm on X. They're like, well, what are you doing?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm too woke for X or I don't know what they want to say, but
Yeah,
I'll stick with Twitter.
yeah.
Uh,
So we're still unsure of what we're gonna lead off with.
I
We
feel like
gotta
for
be
now
prepared.
we got to talk about the weather just because it's been a
Yes,
crazy weather week,
it has. It
and
has.
until we figure out something else to talk about, we got to stick with the weather.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
hail in
Mm-hmm.
April, that
Yeah.
was that was a tricky one. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, did it hail twice? We're recording Friday morning. I know it hailed on Wednesday, but I also feel like there was some on Monday, or maybe not.
Possibly. I mean, that's how long of a week it's been. Like,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
walking home on Wednesday. And luckily I had an umbrella. I didn't even have a hood, which,
hmm
I'm a hoodie kind of guy.
Yeah.
But I had an umbrella and the hail was crushing my umbrella. But I made through. And then it's nice out today. Not really warm, but it was warm out yesterday.
Yeah, the sun is out this morning, which is great. Anytime the sun comes out in Syracuse, like regardless of if it's sunny and cold, I got a smile on my face.
I agree. I agree.
I can take that. Syracuse men's basketball. I think some fans had smiles on their faces this week. Some didn't. I think we'll start with the outgoings first. Peter Majstorovic was the last player who hadn't made up their mind if they were staying or going yet. And originally, it was reported he was staying, but as soon as those reports came out that he was staying, immediately it flipped the other way that he was unsure. And Griffin, as soon as it was the unsure aspect, I kind of knew he would be out the door. Um, you know,
We have some breaking news, actually.
oh
So,
boy, let's
sorry,
hear it.
before I share my intrusive thoughts on Peter Majstorovic,
Yes.
we got a Jordan Leonard post here on the Twitter app
Uh-huh.
saying that he has accepted a production assistant position
Oh,
with CBS Sports. So, clap it
huge.
up,
And we
clap it
got
up
it
for
on the
Jordan.
podcast. That's
On the
big.
podcast, breaking news. Jordan will be very happy to hear that. Congratulations to Jordan.
Absolutely.
I know you're listening.
Yeah,
We're very
hopefully.
we're very proud of you.
Definitely. I think Jordan would have been not thrilled nor upset about Peter Majstorovic leaving. I think it's whatever. He was fine for this team, but he didn't do anything special.
Yeah, perfectly. Like it would have been nice to see what he could do, like 2 or 3 years down the line. But then again, like his minutes were not the most exciting to watch. So I'm fine with Syracuse moving forward, if that what it was, which I assume that's what it was. I mean, maybe Peter wanted to leave. Maybe Peter didn't like the Syracuse weather, and that's why he left. So no, I don't think we'll ever know. but I am not gonna cry over Peter Mastorovich leaving. I'll leave it at that.
No, yeah, and could have been an NIL thing as well, possibly. I think he looked at the roster and he looked at those incoming freshmen. They fill the same role that he filled, position wise, and I think he realized minutes were tight at times this season. They could get even tighter next season. Now to finally some incomings. The first one was William Kyle III from UCLA, and this one did not. I mean, I was on Twitter as soon as this was announced. People were not happy about this, and I watched the entire UCLA Tennessee game, and I didn't remember this guy playing. I'm like, what? Like, was he hurt? No, he wasn't hurt. He just didn't play this season. He logged one game with more than I think like 8 minutes. I think he started that game. He got 27. Outside of that, he played under 5 minutes almost every game. And then you go back, and then he played for South Dakota State. At South Dakota State, he put up some solid numbers. His last season there, his sophomore year, he averaged around 13 points a game and he got almost 7 boards a game. That's solid, but again, I thought our whole precedent now with Syracuse men's basketball is we got to get better in the transfer portal. Is that you can't rely on guys on Hofstra stats because sure, Jaquan Carlos was brilliant at Hofstra. It didn't translate. It hasn't translated for Kyle yet at at a Power Five level. He couldn't get in UCLA's squad. So I don't think this is a flashy transfer. Sure, if he's going to be a reserve center, yeah, but there's no way he can be your starting center.
I agree. I think it's obvious by this edition. And at first, I wasn't excited at all about William Kyle III. I was like, okay, like you're not playing for UCLA, and UCLA hasn't been great, but they made the tournament this year, good season. And he was kind of like their, I guess, minutes wise, Naheem McLeod, if you want to call it.
I get,
He would
yeah.
he would play like 8, 11 minutes a game somewhere in the beginning of the season. It was like 10 to 15, and then it just decreased. He started like one game, he got like 20 minutes, but then towards the end of the season and in the tournament, it was like 5 minutes a game, which obviously is not great. You're not playing high at a D1 level, you're not playing a lot of minutes. But what's interesting about this pickup, he's a completely different player than Syracuse didn't have this type of player last season, where
Hmm.
he's 6'8", 6'9", well, they listed him 6'9", 230, but
6'9".
he's athletic, he's bouncy. They didn't have a lob threat last year. I wouldn't even call Naheem McLeod a
No,
lob
because every
threat.
time
He
Naheem
can't
McLeod got a
jump,
lob, he would drop the lob. Like he
or
wouldn't
or
catch the lob.
or he would catch it, land on his 2 feet, and then
Yeah.
dunk it.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a real lob
Yeah.
threat. And that's what William Kyle III brings. He has that athleticism. And I think he's going to be helpful. I think he's going to provide a different spark that Syracuse hasn't had since like Jesse
Jesse
Edwards.
Edwards, yeah.
Like I don't think Malik Brown could throw down a lob,
But
but
that
like
wasn't his game.
that wasn't his game.
Yeah.
He didn't have much of an offensive game. He was not bad. But anyways, getting back on track. But he's athletic. And so like that's interesting. And then the second guy, if unless you want to talk more about Willie, I want to go on to my guy Nate Kings.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Interesting
Nate
player.
King's definitely more of the flashier of the players. I think for me, the just to finish things out on Kyle, there's no way the center position is complete
No.
yet. You got to bring someone else in because he hasn't proven that he's a starter yet. And Syracuse isn't the place where you prove things. You come in ready to play if you're a transfer and you only have 1 year of eligibility left. Nate Kings, he was the next guy to come in. It was reported that he was visiting, he was, face-to-face meeting with Autry, all this stuff, and then lo and behold, he transfers to Syracuse. This, I think people were really excited about, me as well. He comes over from Oregon State, just 1 year at Oregon State. He has a really interesting backstory. If you go to Syracuse.com, Donna Natota, she mentioned it. I recommend you read that. Really neat backstory about his name and everything. But in terms of his game, he was a starter for Oregon State. He got solid minutes there, averaged almost 12 points a game last season. I like this. This is a good piece, I think.
I agree. And the main thing that I see from Nate Kings, yes, I mean what sticks out obviously, he's a 45% three-point shooter,
Yep.
That's
That would lead the
elite
team this year. That would lead Syracuse's
by
team this
far.
season.
Like
Yep.
you can't count Jair Davis and Johnny Freed. You
No.
can't count Jair Davis shooting 40%
Yeah.
and or Peter Mystorovich because like they were taking less than one attempt per game.
Yeah.
But Nate King, hey, 45% he's shooting. He's a lefty. Syracuse back to that lefty shooter. You haven't seen that in a while. But he's also athletic. Like he's sneaky athletic for a shooter. Like I mean, UNC Chris Bell, like he was a shooter. He was athletic and he would attack the basket. But what separates Nate King's, I think, is that first step. Like he's the lefty. That the threat of him shooting and then attacking the basket is gonna be something to watch for. Is not the interesting part is like where does he play? Is he gonna be
That's what
the
I was going to
six?
get to.
Is he gonna be the six man with as like because he's a shooting guard. He's a six
Yeah.
five. You can play him as a small ball three, and I think that's maybe what they do if you want to roll with Kai and Anthony off the bench. But Nick is 6'5". He's not gonna get you 4 assists a night. He's like a 1 assist guy,
Yeah.
2 rebound guy.
He's a
So
shooter.
he's a shooter. I mean, that's what he is. And so he's kind of like he's what Elijah Moore like could be. That's what I kind of think of him. He's like he's the shooter, but he's like a bona fide shooter. And Elijah Moore, I mean, Elijah Moore's potential is I think a little better than what Nate King's put up last season,
But
but it's
Nate
kind of
King's he's a finished product though.
yes,
I
that
think.
is exactly it.
Yeah.
And so right now with Syracuse, I think always you want that finished product. And so I'm curious what you're gonna say, AJ, but I think obviously you still need a point guard, and then the
Yep.
question is you have JJ at the two, Nate King's maybe small ball three, 6'5". I mean that's he's a little shorter than Chris Bell, but like you're not giving up that much, or and depends on what they do and if they attack and get a true point guard. But at the end of the season, JJ Starling was showing that he could facilitate. He was showing he could pass the ball a little, obviously not great, and he didn't do it a lot of games consecutively. But the 1-2 of JJ Starling and Nate Kings, I might want to see it. I might want to see what it looks like. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little curious. Obviously, getting a true point guard would be nice. I'm curious what you'd have to say, AJ.
Yeah. So here's my big thing. He started every game at Oregon State, and Oregon State's a legit team. It's an I know they're not in a big conference anymore, but they're still legit. He's
Yeah.
it's not a Hofstra, it's not a Delaware State kind of deal, or just Delaware. Referring to transfers of last year. It's not a Georgia State. I think Oregon State is at that threshold of legit team, played legit opponents. These stats can be replicated in the ACC. He started every game last year. So did Autry tell him like, "Hey, you're going to come over here, but you may not start every game"? I almost wonder then why, would he have transferred? So that's what is really interesting to me
Well, I
because I
think
think
one point is the like before NIL, it's like, okay, you can promise a starting spot. That's what gets
true,
you to transfer. Now it's like,
true,
okay, you might be starting, you might be the
yeah,
sixth man, but here's a lot of money. So,
true,
I mean,
true. And
that's the
I
thing.
think at the you look at the roster right now, yeah, I think he starts alongside Starling, but I still want this team to go out and get a true point guard. And if you're in the news on Twitter, there's a name floating around, Nathan George from
Mhm.
Georgia Tech.
Yep.
And I look at his numbers and they look really good. I mean, everything I've read about this kid is, he's a solid player. He was really good with the Yellow Jackets. He started a lot of games there. He averaged around 12 points a game. Here's the big one though. He got almost 7 assists. That's kind of point guard level stuff, similar to what we saw with Jaquan Carlos. But the difference is George here has ACC experience. He can play in the ACC. Last season, he started every game for Georgia Tech. He started all 34 of them. I mean, this is if Syracuse can get this one, this looks like another home run hit. I think.
I agree. And it was John Rothstein of CBS that
Yeah.
said he had met with North Carolina, Syracuse, and Oklahoma. And
Those
then
are good
Syracuse
teams. Syracuse wants to be in associated around.
definitely. I mean, it's a little scary that UNC is there just because
Yes.
it's UNC.
Yes.
But and then Syracuse.com's Mike Waters followed up saying Syracuse coaches had a Zoom call
Zoom call. Yep. That's
with
big. That was similar to what we had with Kings. It was a
Mhm.
face-to-face meeting,
And
and then
now the
two
next
days
step
later
is
he's committed.
now the next step is just getting him on campus because Nate
Yep.
Kings came on campus. He did the whole photo shoot.
Hmm.
That's kind of like what makes it official. What's interesting with
Yes.
George is one. He spells Nathan
Yeah.
Naithan, which I think is just awesome. Like
I
that's just
also I was like,
elite.
is it Nathan? I literally had to watch highlights. I was like,
Mhm.
is it Nathan? It is.
No, yeah, it is. Which I think the I in there is just makes him even better. But he's 6'3", 185.
Yeah.
That is what I want my point guard to be.
Hmm.
Fran. I mean, Syracuse. That's like that's Judah Mintz size. I mean, you're not
Yeah.
talking about Joe Girard. You're not talking about Jaquan Carlos. Like
No.
that's Judah Mintz size point guard. 4 rebounds too. Like, hey, my point guard is getting 4 rebounds. Like that's exciting. And it's just the growth from his freshman season is just to his sophomore season. Next year he'll be a junior, so he has 2 more years of eligibility. And I think Nate Kings does as well. Nate
Yep.
Kings went to JUCO, got injured, then transferred to Idaho State.
I'm
But
sure they
Nathan
can
George,
find some eligibility for
that's
him.
that's what I was saying. If Emma Ward's getting an extra
Yeah.
year, I think anyone can get an extra year. Anyways, but it's the growth. Year one, 10 points, 5 assists. He bumped both of those numbers up. He bumped his rebounds up by 2. His free throw efficiency jumped from 69% his freshman year to nearly 79% his sophomore year. His 3-point percentage increased. All of those things. He averaged a steal his sophomore year when he didn't average. He averaged like point 0.3 his freshman year. Like improvement. That's what I love to see from Nathan George, which means I expect even more increase next season. I think he is the must get for Syracuse. I think he's the number one guy that I'm looking at right now for Syracuse to get. But there's still a lot of empty roster spaces, and that's kind of like the thing. Like Syracuse needs a point guard. I think they need another center. And
Absolutely.
then the one other position that I'm looking at for Syracuse to get, I think they can get like a 6'6" like wing, like more of a wing than Nate Kings. But I'm looking for like a 6'9", 220, like a Jair Davis build. Just give me honestly, if Jair Davis had another year of eligibility, I would take him back.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You can say what you want about Jair Davis, but he was like dependable. He was fine. He could rebound the ball. He could score a little bit. I just want someone of that size, of that position to back up Donnie Freeman, allow Sadiq Wait to play more of a 3 guard. If you want to start him there, start him there. Like, I'm for it. Like, just another big man to compare with Donnie Freeman or William Kyle off the bench, or if you're not going to add another center, I just want another big guy, like someone Jair Davis's size.
Yeah, I think Jair Davis is a good shout. I mean, he was out of all the transfers, him and Eddie Lampkin were by far the best. But if Syracuse can land this George kid, and he's from Toronto as well, so I think that out of all the teams he's
Hey,
supposedly interested in, Syracuse is by far the closest to Toronto. So they got
there's
that
another
going
guy
for
from
us.
Toronto that just entered the portal this morning, Xavier Lee, the Princeton, like first team all Ivy League. That guy is legit. I like if
Mhm.
Syracuse, he entered the portal. He's also going to test the draft. I mean, if he can come to Syracuse, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Shot 37% from three, 17 points per game, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. I mean, he's a Princeton guy, so he's smart. He knows how to play. I don't think Syracuse. I think he's going to go a little higher than Syracuse, maybe like a Michigan State if he does transfer. But I just got to give out Xavier Lee a shout. That guy was, I think, one of the March Madnesses. He was very, very good. Um, anyway, I just love that guy. I had him. I
Yeah,
had
and
him
I
mentioned.
think the names that are being associated with Syracuse this time around compared to last year,
Much better.
much better. And I think you got to give credit to Alex Klein. I think he's the one that's engineering this so far because it's not you're not seeing guys from Hofstra, Delaware, Georgia State. It's Georgia Tech, UCLA, Oregon State. So it's you can definitely see a change of pace in where this team is going this offseason. And I think it's off to a good start. People were really upset when it was William Kyle was the first name to come to Syracuse, but look, I think he's just a definitely just a depth option. Job's not finished. I mean, they got to land a point guard. Hopefully, it is George, and I definitely agree. They need another. If it isn't a center, just someone with some size and experience to just back up the paint presence as well. Syracuse men's basketball is in the thick of their offseason. So too is the football squad. Unfortunately, I don't know if we talked about this. I don't think we could have had a chance to talk about this last week. Maybe we could have. Spring game is not happening between Colorado. NCAA said no, not happening. So that won't happen. But Syracuse still has a spring game, and biggest thing I'm looking at is a quarterback battle. How much of a battle is it? Fran Brown said, soon we'd find out who the quarterback is going to be, but I almost kind of feel like it's going to be, it's going to be in the summer, and we're still going to be talking about who's going to be the quarterback.
Yeah, I was kind of pulling for my guy Jakari Williams, and
Now, Ricky
I've
Collins.
I've heard um the Brent Dax pod. Shout out to Brent Dax pod. Love Brent Dax. We'll have him on podcast in the fall, if not sooner. But he was like, Ricky Collins seems to be the guy, and I'm ready to back Ricky Collins. I saw some highlight they posted on their Instagram of him just slinging it to Trevor Pena, and I was just like, oh, like give me that. Like I just want Trevor Pena to catch the ball. Yeah, like I'm just so excited for football. Disappointed about the spring game. I mean, surprised, not really, but like
Yeah.
disappointed, yes. Like that would have been so much fun. Give me ESPN prime time. Prime time with Coach Prime, and then Coach Fran, who's also going to be prime soon. Um, but yeah, unfortunate. Coach Fran did go on. Shout out Newhouse guy Andrew Siciliano. Um, his show, and said that someone broke their femur at practice. Now he didn't give a name, but that's some little. It was yesterday that I saw that on Twitter. So it'll be interesting to see if we hear some news about that, but just a little cautious there. Demetrius Samuel, I mean, that guy's the big news, going to be playing both ways.
Yep.
Give me another
He's
Travis
16.
Hunter. He's six. Nah, he just turned 17.
Oh,
I think
well,
two
he's
days,
17.
just 2 days ago. But like, still, if he's just turning 17, his freshman season is going to be 17. Coach Fran was like, he's going to be here for 3 years, which means, wait, you have 4 years of eligibility, maybe even five. But nope, he'll be in the draft apparently in 3 years. Hopefully playing both ways. Hopefully the number one overall pick. Um, but
Heisman.
Heisman, national champion. Let's get back to reality. Syracuse football is back. Never left. Coach Franz leading them to promised land. So many recruits at spring practices, like 100. Spring games coming up. 8 days
Mhm.
away in the JMA Dome. Um, because of the Billy Joel cancellation. Shout out. Sorry, Billy Joel can't be there. A lot of people disappointed about that. Did you have tickets to
Yeah.
that?
No, I did. I did not, but yeah, I
I
know
didn't
there
either.
were disappointed.
Um, I'm
But
trying to
yeah, the
think.
spring game is 8 days away. I was going to mention the 16-year-old kid, now 17, Demetrius Samuel. He looks stunned. I mean, the fact two-way player at Syracuse, not something I think we would hear from. I almost wonder if the whole two-way thing is going to become more normalized, that you're going to see more and more people going to college saying they can play both ways. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how much he plays his freshman year at 17.
Brand
Uh,
said
that
he's going to be the starting corner.
yeah, I mean, wild, wild, wild stuff. Just gets you more and more excited for football season, but there's a lacrosse season to be just as excited for. Syracuse men's lacrosse, they got a big one. Everyone's a big one now for this lacrosse team. They beat UVA over the weekend. It was dicey. It was back and forth. Every game against UVA is always like that, but I'm telling you, Owen Hiltz for me is the player of the season. This guy, time and time again, comes in clutch with big goals. He scored the final two goals against UVA to seal the game. I mean, he's the best player on this team this year, and that's no disrespect to anyone else.
Wow.
Yeah, I said
That's wow. Owen
he
Hiltz,
comes in
best
clutch.
player.
When you need goals, when you need the game to get wrapped up, give the ball to Owen Hiltz. He'll find the back of the net.
I agree in some sense. Like when I think Owen Hiltz, I just think dependable. Like I can rely on Owen Hiltz. Like if I need a babysitter or I need someone to give me a goal, like I'm going to Owen Hiltz. Like he's that guy. Now, Joey Spillane, the playmaker, just had 1 point
Yeah.
against the Cavaliers. No goals, 1 assist. It's like, okay, Joey, I thought this was the year we're gonna silence the ACC doubters. I thought this was the year, but
Hey, still got
apparently
games to do it.
not yet. And that's the thing. Michael Leo with a big 3 goals. Peyton Anderson played well. That diving goal was ridiculous, by the way. I was saying at the beginning of the year, I was excited for Peyton Anderson. He's like 6'2", 6'3". Syracuse doesn't have a big player on the offensive side in a while. I mean, none of these players are particularly as athletic as Peyton Anderson. He just brings another level to Syracuse's attack. The thing of note is Trey Deer only played on the man up. Seemed like he was benched, which
Hmm.
he's been playing well, 4 goals in the past 2 games, not including this UVA game. So maybe, I mean, there's something to look in there. Not exactly sure what it is, so we won't assume anything, but good stuff out of Peyton Anderson. Tough day for John Mullen, though. Didn't do too great. But he was saved by his defense, and Jimmy McCool was just stellar. I mean, he's just dependable. Like 60 save percentage, game in and game out. You can just rely on Jimmy McCool at this point to give you saves and not let in the easy ones.
Yeah, he had that one poor game against Harvard, really. But outside of that, I mean, he's recovered brilliantly and has really solidified his spot in goal. And now it's another huge test for McCool and everyone. Number 5, Notre Dame in the Dome. I'm super excited. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be the talk reporter for WAER on Saturday. It's going to be a packed crowd, I think, a great crowd on hand. 2 p.m. is the face-off time. And this is an Irish team that the Orange have not beaten in 6 years. We all know Notre Dame back-to-back titles. They're kind of the creme de la creme of lacrosse right now. They haven't had a great year. They've lost a lot of players. Offensively, they're not the juggernaut that they've been in past years. They have 2 defeats on the season, but they're still Notre Dame. They're still national champions. And this is, I mean, if Syracuse can win this game, I think it really shows this year is different and that this year they can compete for a national championship and get to a Final Four weekend.
I mean, there's still a Kavanaugh on the
Yep.
roster, so you can't really treat Syracuse. You can't really have go lightly against the Fighting Irish. What's interesting is I did some research for one reason or the other, but when Syracuse plays a Kavanaugh, they're 3-9, and all 3 of those wins came against Matt, who played from 2013 to 2016. So when Chris or Pat, the most recent 2 players, and arguably the 2 best, although maybe Matt's better than Chris, depending on which way you look at it. Very all simple names. You got to think the parents in
Yes.
that one. Uh, when the past 2 players have been on the field, Syracuse hasn't won, and so like that's a little worrying. Now Pat's obviously the best one. He won the Tourton last year. He's gone, thankfully. So there's only we don't Syracuse only has to worry about one Kavanaugh. But there's also no Liam Entenmann, but their midfield's good. I mean, if Jordan was here, he would harp on the fact they don't play many games. Like that's
Yeah.
that's that's what we know about Notre Dame. Like those are the set in stone things about Notre Dame. I don't think Notre Dame is going to win this game. I think if
Mm.
Syracuse loses, it's going to be because Syracuse lost the game. I think if Syracuse shoots them in the foot, doesn't score, Joyce Belina has a quiet game, I think those are the reasons why Syracuse would lose. But I think if Syracuse plays their brand of lacrosse, they come out, start the game hot, something they did not do against Virginia, cannot lose the first quarter by 3 goals or more. Like that's unacceptable, especially in this game. And Schroff's going to be on the call. Like this is going to be prime time lacrosse, like the first big game of the season. You can say what you want about Virginia or Colgate or
Maryland.
Maryland. Maryland wasn't on TV. Like that doesn't count. Hopkins is
Well, I
probably as
mean,
close.
Griffin, why does that matter? You should just be listening on WAR.
That is true. And we do. Let it be known. We do. And we always do. But like this is gonna have that feel. Like they're gonna try to break their single season record of attendance or single game record of attendance. They're putting out parking notices all over
Yeah.
the
I'm getting a lot
online.
of notifications on the parking.
I know.
People better
Like
know where to park this weekend.
they're ready for this parking situation. It's in the dome. They're getting ready. Like this is Syracuse. This is Notre Dame. 2 of the blue bloods of lacrosse. I'm excited. Who knows what's gonna happen though? I honestly, Syracuse could very well like fall flat on its feet, not score in the first quarter, or Syracuse could be up 7-2 and then Notre Dame could come back. Like that's both possibilities, and I think it's gonna be one of those two. So I'm just excited. Like I just love watching good lacrosse, listening to good lacrosse here on WAR. And I think I'm just ready. I'm ready. I'm ready for a good
Yeah,
game.
it's
Give
going
me
to
a
be a
good game.
thrilling
Just
game.
please give me a good game. That's all I ask for.
I think it will be. I know last year got a little bit out of hand, but Notre Dame, they were a juggernaut last year. The big thing you mentioned is these first quarters. I mean, this team starts games either incredibly fast or incredibly slow. And 5-2 against UVA, and I'm like, uh-oh, this is bad. UVA is not that good this year. They're unranked, and you're about to lose. Then they come back, and they had a great third quarter, and sometimes this year they've had awful third quarters. So they gotta get, they gotta start games hot and come out of the halftime locker room hot as well, because that is where this team is winning and losing games, I think. I think it's just, look at Harvard. The second half started miserable against Harvard, and they lost. And, the first quarter against Maryland, it was an awful start. They lost. So they got to get off to a good start, especially against Notre Dame, because, if you leads are hard to come back to against Notre Dame, and it's going to be that way from here on out for Gary Gates' group. Cornell, Duke, North Carolina. Those leads are not easy to come back from. I think it is interesting just peeking at the schedule. I think Duke and North Carolina, they've shown a lot of vulnerability. They've lost a few games as of late. So maybe the end of this, I'm not saying those games will be any easier, but maybe they'll be as not as, daunting test as initially thought. But either way, it's a big game this weekend for Syracuse men's lacrosse against Notre Dame, Saturday at 2 p.m. The women's team, they're all the way out in California, and unfortunately, they had a midweek game that they lost. They lost to Yale. Yale got revenge on them from last season when they beat them in the postseason. It was a tough game for Kayla Trainer's group. I don't know if they were too focused on the pizza out there in New Haven, but
Come
it didn't go their
on.
way. They were never really in the game. They were always kind of fighting back, and ultimately they couldn't make that comeback. Now they play Cal. Cal isn't all that great. It'll definitely be a bounce back game, but I'm just focused on the travel aspect. I mean, welcome to college athletics. You play a game in Connecticut, and then you go to the opposite side of the country to Berkeley to play Cal Saturday at 6 p.m. Is something that, even a year ago was unheard of.
And I wonder if they came back to campus like in between. So you leave, I
Maybe.
assume you leave Yale after the game on Wednesday. You get back to campus late Wednesday night, if not, yeah, late Wednesday night because it was a day game, which is day game in the middle of the week. You'll love to see that. You get back late Wednesday night. You have a day, and then you fly out Friday, which seems kind of weird. But the thing about this Yale team, we don't have to talk about them long, but they returned a lot of very, very good players. Like I'm looking down the list of names: Jenna Lignan, Taylor Lane, Fallon Vaughn. These are all players that played really well in that quarterfinals game last year. And I mean, Jenna Lignan on the draw circle just completely dominated. Ended up being 19-7 in favor of the Bulldogs, which
Mhm.
it's hard to win games if you're only winning
Yeah.
7 draw controls and the other team is winning close to 20. Um, I mean, it's just this game kind of summed up the season for Syracuse. Like you get off to a slow start, you fall down early, and then you try to claw back in the fourth quarter, but Yale pulls away, and that's what happened. Um, I think the main thing for Syracuse is just if they're playing well one game, like they're playing really well. Like if they play well, they play well. If they don't, then they don't. So it's just, I mean, it's all about the NCAA tournament and the ACC tournament. If you're playing well, then you're gonna play well. Uh, you're gonna play well. You're gonna play, I guess, well. How many times can I say well in one
Yeah,
sentence? But
overkilling well here. I think the ACC tournament is definitely something they need to look at first. They're still in it. I mean, they're 4-2 conference record. That isn't bad.
no,
There's two undefeated teams in the ACC, North Carolina and Boston College, at 13-0 and 11-0. So
the
they're
quick
still, the season's not over. Yes, they have 5 losses, and that's, kind of unheard from this team, especially in recent years. But they're definitely not out of the conversation at all.
no, California, solid team, not ranked. But first ever matchup between
Hmm.
the Golden Bears and the Orange. It's going to be interesting, just like how Syracuse comes out. Like, are they jet lagged? Is that quick turnaround and then traveling to the West Coast like that is awful. Like, I feel bad. Like, that is not fun.
And then
Um,
after that, they go to Blacksburg next weekend for Virginia Tech. So they're only home one more time this year, and that's not even at the Dome. It's at the high school stadium against
yep.
Boston College.
Which will be a very fun game, and we'll definitely talk
Hmm.
a lot about that. But I mean, Cal, they're without a conference win, but this is a game that like could sneak away from Syracuse. Like
Yeah.
Cal, they want to get an ACC win. Syracuse travels all the way. They haven't been in. Syracuse that much recently, and they're not going to be. So I could see Cal sneaking away with a win. I wouldn't it wouldn't shock me. Obviously, Syracuse is the much better team talent wise, but you never know in women's lacrosse and I guess any college sport at this point. The uncertainty is the only certainty. Wow, that was
Definitely. And Cal is 0-6 in the ACC. That one draw time is 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it'll probably be some nice views out there on the West Coast. I remember when the football team played Cal. I mean, every wide shot they took was just beautiful. Beautiful area out there in California. Be sure to stick to the Ostrom Avenue podcast on Twitter because we'll definitely have a poll out there for what we'll talk about at the start of the podcast now, if we decide it now or in the fall, which I think is kind of far out. But maybe if you want to wait till the fall, Griffin, we can wait till the fall.
we don't have to wait till the fall. We shouldn't do anything. We shouldn't change anything before we have a set in stone idea. So maybe that will be after the spring game. Maybe that will be the NCAA championship for men's
What? What?
lacrosse preview.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Knock
Getting
on wood.
way,
Knock on
way,
wood.
way too far ahead of yourself. One thing that is set in stone is this weekend. You should definitely tune into WAER at 1:30 for McClure Remodeling Countdown to Face Off because that's when Syracuse and Notre Dame square off a top 10 matchup in the Dome. It's going to be a thrilling game. Double
Make
overtime.
sure.
That goes until 5:30. I'll be on that. I'll be at the Dome. So be sure to follow WAR Sports Talk on Twitter for all the insight there from the Dome. It's going to be a packed house. It's going to be a thrilling game. You'll definitely want to tune in. And you got women's lacrosse after that as well. So big lacrosse weekend. Basketball team, they'll definitely still be active in the transfer portal. We'll have the latest news on that. And the football team with the spring game happenings as well. And we'll definitely get some more interviews, talk to some more lacrosse head coaches later on in this season as well. So be sure to stay tuned to the Ostrom Avenue podcast, wherever you get your podcast, or at WAR.org for all the latest happenings on Syracuse lacrosse. We'll see you guys next week.